All right. So now, as usual, we'll start by bringing in our boilerplate, which is the basic template for the HTML. So in case you joined us late, please, you are going to get the video where you understand how we get this, generate this boilerplate, or how we can get the boilerplate. So we're going to give this relative and absolute parts. So relative and absolute parts. And inside the body now, we want to create relative parts. We need to understand what they actually do. So in creating web pages, we're going to see situations where we have to link our website within each other. That means from page to page. So where we like we saw yesterday, you can see this link here now that I created from some other project I had. You can see there is a home, there is product, about, account, and contact us. So if these links are inside your website, there's a way you refer to these links in your website. But if they are outside your website, there's a way you refer to them. So yesterday, if you look at the anchor link we created, you see that we created links within our page, and we also created links outside our page. The links we created that took us outside the page is an example of an absolute path. So as you can see, it contains the full path to where we are going to, which is the HTTPS, the google.com, right? So that's the absolute path. So I can also link to my own website with absolute paths. So if I have like my website now, I want to link it to an absolute path, just write the full name of my website, then to the page that I want to link to. So, but related paths, we use it when we are creating a link which is related to maybe the folder inside our own website. For instance, we have our website here, this is like our website. So I'm just going to be calling the website, but this is our folder. You can see here, cohort 1, which is the folder we're working in. And we have all these files resident inside this folder. So to refer to, so I'll use my anchor tag to refer to a file inside my folder relatively. All I just need to do is to type the name of the file. So for instance, let me link it to anchor.html. Now, this is an example of a relative path. As you can see, there is no full description of where this thing goes to. It's just because it's inside the same root folder with the file I'm referring from. I'm referring from the relative folder, right? So, and inside the same folder is where I have the anchor.html. You can see here, I have anchor.html inside the same folder. So there is no need to add any stuff here. So I'm just going to put anchor.html. And if I put a text that I can click on when I load my page, anchor, I'll just write anchor there. And when I save this and open the browser, yeah. So I saved it here, and as you can see, let me zoom it in a little bit so you can see it. So this is the button I've just created, or a link that I've just created. So when I hover over it, if you look down, just straight parallel down to where my cursor is, you see that it's showing me the path to my file. Now, this path that you see here now is the absolute path. So see what we're going to do. I'm going to create 2 of this file. I'm going to duplicate this. Then I'll call this anchor 2. Oh, sorry. Ctrl Z and anchor 2. That's what I'm going to call it. Then I'm going to put a relative, an absolute path. So I'm going to copy this. So as you can see here, I'm copying the URL here. So Control copy. Then I'm going to highlight this and Control V to paste. So I've just pasted the absolute path to the same link. So when I save this, you can see I have these 2 here. Let me just put a break tag so that we can have them on separate lines. Yep. So now you can see we have 2 links. And when I hover over them, you see that they are both showing two different type of links, but they are pointing to the same place. Just that one, I'm using the relative path, and one, I'm using absolute path. So I'll just put this one, I'll put a title. So let me just put like a H2 title here, that's the heading, and just say relative path. While for this one, I'll put a heading here and H2 and say absolute path. So that's what we have here. So I've saved this so at least we can get a clearer picture of what we have done here. So if I click on this anchor tag, you see it takes me to this page anchor. As you can see the title up here. As you can see the title up here, you see that it is actually the anchor page. We're on the anchor page because the title has changed. So if I come back and I click on the anchor 2 link, sorry. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake here. This is supposed to be anchor.html, not. So please take notes. Mistakes like this are they are bound to happen where you make some minor mistakes and stuff change. So I'll just press here such that when I click here, you see it still takes me to anchor. As you can see up here, I'm in the anchor page. So as we proceed in our project, there will be times where we need to add images. We need to refer to the image maybe in a folder or whichever folder. We need to understand how this relative and absolute paths work. So I'm going to create a folder inside my project here, and I'll call this folder pages. Now in this folder, I'm going to move my relative file into the pages. So I just moved it into pages. As you can see, it's inside pages. If I close down this page, you see I've moved it into pages. So it's not inside pages. Now, when I refresh, if I go back and refresh my link, you see it is showing me an error. Let me open this a little bit so you see. See, it's just saying cannot get relative dash absolute path. And this is because the link has changed. The link has changed. If you see here, we are referring to relative dash absolute dash path.html, whereas it is now inside another folder. So we need to change the link with which we get to this absolute path. So to do that, we just change this. We add pages slash relative dash absolute dash path. So by the time I press enter, you see that our relative page is showing. If you look at the title up there, you see that it is actually showing us that we're in the relative page. So I have a little spell error there. I think this is supposed to be E, not R. Yeah, so now, then when I try to navigate to this anchor, you see what happens. Now, when I navigate to the anchor 2, now watch very closely. When I navigate to the anchor 2, you notice that it opens the anchor page properly, right? It opens the anchor page properly. But let's go to anchor 1, this anchor. When I click on it, you see, it also shows that same error, that there's problem getting to that page. That's because our relative path needs to change. So the difference between the relative and the absolute path is that if I use an absolute path, no matter the web page, no matter where I drop my absolute path, I will always get to the page where I'm going to. But if I'm using the relative path, when my page structure changes or my file structure changes, I will have to also change. So that's how it works. I will have to also change. So in your project, you should know when to use the relative path and when to use the absolute path. So for me to properly link to this anchor file using the relative path format, I have to first understand where my file exists. So my file exists inside a folder, and that folder is on the same folder structure as the other elements you can see here, which we want to refer to. So that means for me to refer to something outside this page, I have to come outside that page. So to do that, I'm going to do dot dot slash, right? Dot dot slash. That means I'm outside. As you can see the suggestions by my code editor here now. It's now showing that with the dot dot slash, I'm now seeing files outside pages. I'm now seeing files outside pages. That means from there, I can now click on the file I want to get to, which is the anchor.html. Now, when I save this and go back to the page we were here now and click on this anchor, oops, what happened? Okay, so let me refresh. I think I didn't refresh. So if I refresh this and click on anchor, as you can see, we are now having the title anchor, and we are inside the anchor page. So we have seen how to link to a file that is outside, and we've seen how to link to a file that's inside. So if you come back to the anchor, want to put a link inside the anchor page here that takes us back to the relative path page. So I'm going to say put a comment here with the paragraph tag. This is not actually a comment. It's something that's going to show you on the browser. So I'll say this link takes us to relative page, right? So just underneath it, let me close the sidebar. Just underneath it, I'm going to put my link. So I'll use the A tag. So I want to link to this folder inside the page. So to do that, I have to consider where my file currently exists. My file anchor, which is this one here, exists inside the same root directory as the page. So I have to first navigate into the page, then pick the file that I want to pick. So to do that, I'll just do pages. So I'll type pages, then /. As you can see, the editor already knows the files that are inside pages, which is just one. That's the relative-absolute-path.html. So I click on that and close the sidebar. So this is my, as you can see, this is my relative path to get back to the relative file. So I'll just give it a name. Let me just call it relative. Let me just call it relative path as an anchor link. So when I save this, as you can see, I have it here that this link takes me to relative page. So when I click on this relative page, you see it properly brings me to this part. So these points are very important because we're going to get to when we start using images, adding images to our project, adding picture, videos, adding audio. We need to understand these parts. We're going to get to when we start linking other pages to our website. We need to understand this part. So we're going to proceed. We're going to proceed in our lectures and look at the div and span as an element. So we'll just close. So I want to believe that you guys are with me. I hope you are with me.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. All right. Now we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call that file. Let me be sure that I'm creating the file in the right place. So to create it in the right place. Yep. So we're going to call it, let's say div.html. Yeah. So I'll call my boilerplate and I have it here. And let's say HTML div elements. Now, a div is just a generic container. It's a container that we use to house other contents. It has no special function actually on our site other than helps us to arrange our code, especially when we begin to add CSS to our file or JavaScript. It's important to always arrange your code. So we use the div to classify the maybe sections in our code. For instance, I want to have a group of paragraphs. So instead of just having So group of paragraphs, say para one, and just do stuff like this, and do. So I'm doing like say this is para one, para three, and para four. So these are paragraphs. So for instance, in my code, let me open this in our browser. Let me bring up the browser. Let's open this live server. Now, as you can see, I have these 4 paragraphs. Now, they are all, these 4 paragraphs belong to one particular article. So it doesn't make sense for the paragraphs to just stand alone. Instead, what would be the best thing to do is to group them inside a div, so that when I want to style, when I want to start adding style, it's easy for me to add these styles. So to do that, all I just simply do is create a div tag or a div element. Now, I'm going to cut this with the Ctrl X and paste it here. I first tab and paste it here, Ctrl V. Then make sure my code is properly formatted. Properly formatting your code is very, very important. It allows you to identify errors very easily. Now, with this being saved, now if you notice, my web page here has refreshed, but nothing changed. That's because the div doesn't do anything. All it does is that it helps me to arrange my code. And it is a very vital tag. It's a tag we're going to be using every day as we continue to write HTML. We use this tag every day. There's absolutely no reason for us not to use this tag. We're going to be using it a lot. So I can also have the same, maybe div again, housing, maybe another stuff. Let's say H1, heading something, right? Then there's a heading of the maybe let's call this article name. So this is the name of the article. Then this is probably like the content of the article. Now, let's say I have several articles. So let's just say article name. Let's call this article 1 name. Now I said this, you can see like I have, let me reduce this back so you can see like I have an article here. Now if I didn't have this div, right? Let me just remove this div. So as you can see, they're just standalone. They're just standing alone inside our browser. Doesn't make any sense. If I'm going to have several articles, that means I have to be copying this Ctrl C and Ctrl V. So I'm going to be pasting it like different articles. So maybe probably this is article 2, right? And this is article 1. I mean article 3. So if I save this, you see I have 3 articles. But in my code, it doesn't make sense because I can't identify them as individual articles. So the best way to do this is to add a div. So I'm going to copy this, our cut, Ctrl X, and paste it just below here, Ctrl V. Right? So it now makes more sense in my code now. You see, it's for me or it's for your code. It makes more sense to your code now that you have been able to add this div. Then it allows you to see more light in what you are doing. So these articles have been successfully grouped into different divisions, as you can see here. And notice nothing changes on the page, but it has helped me to know that I can arrange my project properly. So as you can see now, I have my project arranged properly in my code. So that is what we use the div for. Now we move to span. So I'm going to create a new file here, and I call it span.html. Now, the span is just like the span is like the div. The only difference is that the span is an inline element. Okay, So before this meeting ends, the meeting is going to end in 10 minutes. Please just click on the link and get back into this class, just in case the link ends. Please just take notes. I hope you heard me. If the link ends, because it's going to end in like 10 minutes or less, you can just re-enter into the link because we're using the free version. So please just take notes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only difference between the span and the link is that and the div is that the div is a block level element, while the span is an inline element. So inline elements only take up the amount of space as the content. So if I have a span here, oh sorry, I forgot to bring in my broiler plate, and let's give this thing a title. So say HTML span elements, right? Okay. So this is all we have now. Now in the body, I can now start writing my stuffs. Now notice when we wrote divs, the divs, paragraphs and others, they all break into new line. Like see, this started on a new line, this started on a new line. But that's not so for span tags. Span tags, when they are being used, they stack themselves next to each other. So let's just say this is span 1, and let's duplicate this to get some more spans. Let's say 4 of them. So let's say this is span 2, and this is span 3, and this is span 4. Now, when I save this and open in my browser, so open with Lifesaver. Open with Lifesaver. So you can see here that the span, they all stack next to each other. So just like the span is also a container, but it's an inline container, just in case you need to add something within something that doesn't break into a new line, something you just want to occupy as much space as its content. So as you can see, the span only occupies the space of the content. You can see it's just the space of the content, just the space of the content. That's what the span tag occupies. So that's just what the span does. As we progress, we're going to use these elements and we'll see how they work. Now, let's get back to our outline. The next thing we should look at is the lists, how to make lists. So I'm going to give a new file here, and I'll call this file list.html. Oops, I spelled HTML wrongly. So you see, because I spelled HTML wrongly, it didn't identify it as an HTML. It didn't identify it as an HTML file. Just saw it as something else. So I just click to rename that HTML. That's all I need to do. So this is HTML. Then I call my broiler plate, and here I'll just say HTML lists. Now, inside the body, I now begin to create a list. So I'm going to use the H1 and say we have 2 types of lists. One is the ordered list. That's the first list. So this list is used when you have stuff that you need to arrange according to a particular maybe hierarchy, maybe like a to-do list. Things you want to do maybe in a day. There are those things that maybe probably you need to do in the morning before you do something in the afternoon, before you do something in the evening. You understand? For instance, you have to take breakfast before you take lunch, before you take dinner. It's not possible for you to take dinner before you take lunch, before you take breakfast. So that will be in the opposite direction. So supposing I want to have a list that I want to be in an ordered format, what I use is the OL tag. So that's OL tag. So the OL element stands for ordered list. So within the OL element, I'm going to create an LI. So the LI stands for, the LI is actually list item. So I'm going to create a list item. So let me say I take my breakfast first, then next I take my lunch, right? Then next I take my dinner. So as you can see already, it's like an order of preference or order of an activity. So it is very important to put stuff that has a particular order in the ordered list so that you can be able to list them. So if I right click and open this on live server, you can see we have a list here that says ordered list, and is a list of the meals we take in a day. So, which the first one is breakfast, second one is lunch, third one is dinner. Now, there are attributes we can add to these ordered lists to change some things. Now, attributes gives elements more power to do some other things. So, with the attributes, we can give some more power to an element. So, an example of an attribute we're going to use here is the type attribute. So for this type attribute, let's say we don't like to use 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to use A, B, C, D. So all we just need to do is to put A. And when I save this, if you see here, you see that our link changed from 1, 2, 3, 4 to A, B, C, D. I can also write a lowercase a and save this, and you see that our list changes to lowercase alphabets. So A, B, C, D. The same thing for Roman numerals. All I just need to do is put the first letter of the Roman numerals. And when I save this, you see that it starts from I, and I. So the same thing goes, I can use the lowercase one. So when I refresh, you see I have I, and I. Now, another attribute you can add to this list is the start attribute. So supposing I want this thing to start from number 2. So let me just change this to number. So we'll see. Let's put this back as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want this number to start counting. Instead of counting from 1, as you see, I want it to start counting from 2. So all I need to write here is start from 2. When I save this, if you come back here, you see that we have this thing starting from 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that is how we use the ordered list. So the ordered list type that we have is the ordered list. So I'm going to just create another H1 and write on ordered list. So on ordered list is when we want to create a list that has no specific hierarchy. They just also mention bunch of stuffs, not in any particular order. You get, you're not arranging stuff in any particular order. So we use the UL to depict the unordered list. So within the UL, we add our LI. So let's just say we want to list cars, not in particular order. I just want to list cars, not in order of my preference, because obviously I probably don't like an Audi car. There's no get car, they like car. All right. I'm not listing this in according to order of preference. I'm just listing them like just number of those cars. So we have Toyota. I'm not going to use Mercedes because I don't know how to spell the Mercedes. So, and there's BMW. Spelling Mercedes has always been giving me problems since I was a child. So I don't even stress myself. I don't even think all the people who drive Mercedes cars know how to spell Mercedes. So don't judge me. All right. So as you can see, we have this list here, right? We have this list here that we have created. And if you see, it's using the bullet points here. It's using the bullet points. So we have Audi, Toyota, and BMW. They are not following any particular order. So just appears with bullet points. So another thing we're going to look at is we can have, so I'll start another H1 here. We can have nested lists. That means I can put a list inside a list. So let's just quickly see that. So let's use the.
Sorry, I want to drag you back.
Okay. Yeah,
This place you put ordered list start to. What if I want it to start from 1? That means I won't put start 2, right?
Yes, I can. You can either remove it or just leave and put 1. You see, if I put 1 there and save it, it changes to 1, as you can see on my browser here. So my browser automatically.
I can just remove it.
Yes, you can remove it, or you just remove it. If you don't need it, you can remove it. So you can see when I remove it, it's still showing me from 1 down to 2. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So I'll just leave it here so that you can use it.
Then that of the bullet automatically.
Okay, it gives you this round.
So that of the bullet.
Yes, it gives you a bullet automatically when you use an unordered list. The UL, use an unordered list, it gives you that bullet automatically. Okay. You can actually change the type of bullet, maybe to a square. You want to change the color, but I'm not going to be doing that here because we want to do that in CSS. That's the CSS thing. That's the CSS thing. You get, so we're going to do that. All right, so before we were interrupted, I was about to go into the nested list. So I've said we can have a list inside a list. So we're going to use the, okay, let's start with, let's say we do the OL, which is the ordered list. So we have an ordered list, right? So let's say, let's just copy what we had before for the ordered list. So I'll just copy this, right? So Control C, and I'll come down here and Control V. So we have this ordered list here. And I don't need these types and stuff, so I'm going to maintain this. So I just save this. So as you can see, we have our list showing here. So what if I want to show within this list now the things I would like to take for breakfast? Maybe I want to maybe take tea, bread, egg, and other stuff. So I want to list them under the breakfast. So with an unordered list, remember, like I can list them with ordered list or unordered list, but I want to use unordered list because there's no particular preference to what I want to take. So I'll just say UL. Then inside the UL, I'll write the LI. So let's say I want to take tea. I also want to take maybe bread. And I also want to take maybe say eggs, right? So when I save this, now you can see here, how do I make this to, if you can see here now, you see that I now have breakfast, but underneath breakfast, I now have another list, which is nested into the breakfast, where we have the tea, bread, and eggs. The same thing I can do for my lunch. In my lunch here, I can say I want to put ordered list. So OL, just maybe because what I'm thinking to take for lunch, I have a preference. So what I'll prefer to take for lunch, the first thing I'll prefer to take for lunch is let's say yam, for instance. And if there's no yam, I'll take rice, right? If there is no rice, I'll take eba, something like that. So when I save this, and when I scroll down here, you can see that I now have lunch, I have yam, rice, eba. So because I'm using this now comes in handy. It comes in handy where I can now say here I'll put the type, the list type to be lowercase ABCD. So you see now it makes more sense because I have lunch too, then and I have other this in A, B, C, D. Now even inside the this list here, I can also create another list here. So maybe the yam, the preference I have for yam. So I'm going to use I have a preference for yam, for instance. So maybe it could be fried. Yam could be boiled, right? Or the yam could be roasted, right? So when I save this, see, I now have several options now for yam. So lunch, yam, fried, boiled, roasted. So this is how we nest lists inside another list. So we're going to proceed. Somebody wants to say something. Okay. All right. So we're going to proceed. Next thing we have here is adding special characters. Now, special characters come in. Let's quickly create a file for that. So we'll say new file and we'll call it special character, not HTML, right? So why do I keep spelling HTML? So now I'll invite my boilerplate to do its work. I'm going to give this special character. Sorry, let me just do this. All right. If I'm on. Yeah, so now special characters become very useful in situations like this. So I want somebody, I'm putting something on, I want somebody to tell me what they observed. So I'm going to use a p tag. I'll say this file or this sentence contains, contains a special character, right? So it contains a special character. So, and special, I'm going to put special inside a bracket like this. So I'm going to save this and open in my browser. So now, can somebody tell me what they notice with what I've written inside here? Pick one, because we don't have time again. Time flies like, woo. Can somebody tell me what they notice between what we have here in the browser and what is showing? I mean, what we have here what is showing on the browser and what we have here in our editor. Somebody just quickly tell me what you observe. Quickly tell me what you observe. Anybody?
Special is missing.
Yes, special is missing. That's because I enclosed special inside these two brackets you can see here, the opening angle bracket and the closing angle bracket. It is a special character that belongs to the HTML entity. So I can't use it inside my code. Instead, to present this, I will need to do write this thing using a special character. So a special character starts with the ampersand, right, and ends with semicolon. Then within it, I'm going to now write what I want. I think it's L. It's LT, LT. Okay, yeah, LT, and here I'm going to replace it with ampersand, right? Special character. So this is GT, right? So that is what it is. So if I save this, now you can see the special, the way I want it to show, now showing on our browser. Now, good thing, just like I ended yesterday, I said you don't need to cram anything. I'll show you how to get these special characters when you need them. Let me just show you one more special character before we go to find these characters when you need them. So let's say I want to do the footer of my page. So I'll just put a P tag. I'll say copyright, all rights reserved, right? So I want to put the copyright symbol here. Ordinarily on your keyboard, there's nowhere you can put this copyright symbol. So we fall back to the special character to add this copyright symbol. So to do that, we'll do the ampersand and close with the with the semicolon. And inside it, I'll just type copy, which is when I save this, now you see on my browser here, now you can see the copyright symbol. So to find this copyright symbol, I'm just going to open in my browser. I'll just go to Google, just because Google HTML. Oh geez, I typed the wrong thing again. Yep. Yeah. So inside our Google search button here, all I'm just going to type is HTML entities. So that's these special characters. That's what they're called, HTML entities. So I'll click enter, and as you can see, I have W3 School popping up as the first option here. I can see other options. I don't know why it is not showing MDN. Okay, I like to use MDN a lot. So let me open my browser a little bit so you can see what's happening. So this is MDN, that's developer.mozilla.org. They have one of the best resources for web, apart from the W3 schools. So I like to use this Mozilla developer, that's the MDN. So when I click on this, it's loading. It's going to show us a list of all these special characters. They are there. There are plenty of them. So you don't need to memorize them. All you just need to know is that if you need any special character, go to Google search and just type HTML entities, and it's going to bring you here. As you can see, this is the one we just used to create. Let me reduce this so you can see. So we just use this one now. This is what we just used to create this left angle bracket, as we already did. So we have these ones. So you can see this one's for quotes. This one is for right angle, left angle, and this for ampersand itself. So we can create special characters. And there is a list, official, if you see here, it say official list of character entities. So if we click on that list, it's going to show us all the available lists. So don't bother yourself to cram any of this. Just know that special characters can be gotten using the entity. So you can see there are so many special characters, several special characters that you can get from here. So we're going to proceed, going back to my outline, and the next thing we have is comments. Yeah, so let's get back here and let's put up the comments. So as usual, new folder. I'll call this folder, let's call it HTML comments dot HTML. Makes sense. All right, then we bring in a.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm with you.
Sorry. Does it mean? You mean special cannot just appear normal like a word?
No, special
just
can
like
appear.
the same way others appeared without that tag.
Okay, special can appear, but if you notice, I wanted special to appear inside that tag. That's how I wanted to do.
Line is breaking.
You get special. I wanted it to appear inside that tag. Yeah, I can change the special to anything.
Okay.
I just wanted it to appear in that tag. That's what I wanted, for it to appear in that tag. So, but I can't have it to appear like that because the angle bracket is actually a reserved. Will I say is a reserved character that I cannot just use like that. It's a special character. I can't use it anyhow. It's reserved. So for me to show that, I need to use the special character. So that's why we use that. All right. So back to we now want to have comments. There can be a situation like when we did div. So I'll just come back to div and I'll copy these articles we have here. So Ctrl C and get back to my comments and paste those divs we have here. Now, when these codes become so much, it becomes difficult for me to identify where this is or where that is. So for me to be able to identify it, I need to put some comments. I'll just say maybe these are all articles. So I'll just say maybe my article starts here. So to write a comment, we'll open the opening, what do you call it? The opening angle bracket, a semicolon, 2 dash, and another, that is 4 dash, then the closing this. So in between the 4 dash, that's the middle here, as you can see where my cursor is blinking at. I'll not write a comment. I'll not say, this starts, right? This starts my article. So this starts my article. So I now know that my article starts here. So I want to show also that my article ends here. So I'll do the same thing. I'll just say this ends my article. Right? Oops. So as you can see, I now know that my article starts here and ends here. So anytime I just quickly look at my code, I can easily know that where this is where my article starts and this is where my article ends. So, but I can decide to do so many things with these comments. So let's open and see that comments don't usually display on the browser. Comments do not display on the browser. As you can see here, we have these articles and we have these comments here, but they're not displaying on our browser. That's because they only just give you more information about what you're looking at. We are looking at an article, and this is where the article starts, and this is where the article ends. So there is no need for the comment doesn't show on the page. So no matter the comment, I can write so many things. I can just write a comment here like, I used this to explain comments, right? I use this to explain comments. And when I save this, it doesn't show up here. It is just for me. I now know that I actually use this file to explain comments or something like that. So that's just what the comment is. So we're going to proceed to the next topic we have, block quotes and pre. So we call them special text formatting elements. So I'm going to close some of these pages I have here so that I can be seeing what I have. I'm going to be closing them. Closing them. All right, I closed all now. So I click on the sidebar here, and I want to create a new page. So I want to call that, let me just call it text formatter. .html, right? So now I also invite my browser page to do its work. You don't need to type all those long things. Then here I'll just call this, let me just say special text formatter. I don't even know if I'm spelling the formatter very correctly, but I think it's, I don't know if it's double L, double T. Well, I'm not teaching English, so here with the spelling in case it is wrong. All right. Now, looking at this special text formatter, we are going to create something and we'll observe the difference. So I'm going to create a p tag and I'm going to just write some bunch of useless words inside. So I'm just going to do lorem 10. So these are just a bunch of text that don't mean anything. So let me reduce it. Let me reduce it to lorem. Okay, so I'm going to create another one. I'm going to create another one. So a p tag, then I'm going to just write some gibberish. So I'm going to just write it anyhow, lorem, right? I'll give unnecessary space, ipsum, then, oops, sorry, this tag is going to be pre. That's what this tag is going to be. Pre, please, this tag is supposed to be pre, because I'm trying to show you different examples. So pre, then dolo, now I'm going to copy this same thing. So now if I save this and open it in my browser, you will see that this maintained the spacing and everything I had. So the pre is just a special formatter. It keeps the code the same way you have written it. For some reason, let me use space because I use space also. So you can see just the way it is here. That's the way it's appearing here. Ordinarily, if I change this to the p tag, right? You see, it doesn't allow it to stay on separate lines. Instead, it forces it to be on the same line. So, but pre allows you to be able to separate them on different lines. Then another thing is block quotes. So the block quotes is just where you maybe put, there's a quotation on your site, something you want to put as a quotation. So you just put them in the block quotes. So this is also for the browser to, so this is it. So as you can see, the format, it pushes it inside. So if you have seen on magazines, you're trying to read a magazine or a newspaper, maybe somebody wrote some bunch of text on it, then you just put a quote, a quotation, that maybe a quote, maybe I should just put this inside a quotation here so that you know that this like somebody's quotes. So as you can see, it's like somebody's quotes. So we use the block quote to actually write quotations like this. So the browser sees it as an important part or something that is a quote from a particular article. So these quotes, they are also very important. So I'm trying to rush this because we need to get into CSS so that we can start creating pages. Now, and we have just 2 topics to go before for us to just cover the basic things I want us to understand with HTML before we start using them to create so many crazy things that we can, just as your imagination, just think of it, your imagination can start creating anything. So now we're going to add images to our web page. So before that, I'm going to go into my file here and let me get an image. So I want to bring in the image of our logo. So I'm going to just, because I like to arrange my files, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call the folder images, right? So I have a folder here, images. And inside the images folder, I'm going to drag and drop this logo inside the images folder. Then I'm going to right click it and rename. I want to rename it and just say logo, because I like to use short names in my descriptive and short names in my code. Then I'll close this. I'm going to open a new file here. I'm going to open a new file. I'm going to call the file images.html. God help me, I'm writing HTML all the time. Right, so images.html. So I'll bring in our boilerplate and I'll call this file images, or as we like do, HTML images. I'm saying images, but I'm typing image. All right. So we have to link an image into our web page. So we just say something like H1 and say, welcome to Code Square. So welcome to Code Square, and just underneath it, I just want to put our logo. So the element we use to put the logo is the img element. If you remember yesterday, we spoke about some tags that are self-closing. An img, which is an image tag, is a self-closing element. It's an example of a self-closing element. So it doesn't have any content. So therefore, it doesn't have any child. So therefore, does not require to have a closing tag. Instead, it close within itself. So if you remember, we talked about relative and absolute link. When we begin to add images to our site, we need to understand how to link to our images. For instance, to go to the image tag we have there, I have to first of all go, because I'm inside this root directory here. You can see I'm inside the cohort root directory. That's where this images of HTML exists. Now, I want to look for a file that's inside images. So all I just need to do is here now, I'm going to type images, then /. You can see I have just one image inside my images folder, and I hit the tab or enter, and you can see that I have images/logo here. Now, this is the src attributes, which means source. So I'm just writing like a link for the source from where my image is coming from. Then you can see here, there's also another attribute here, the alt or alternative text. So here I'm going to put an alternative text. So I'm just going to call this code square. Now this is important, especially for screen readers or when your image is broken. So we're going to see how that works. So first of all, let's save this and open with live server. So as you can see, we have our image displaying here. So the image is very large. The image is very large. So let me reduce this a little bit. So the image is very large. We can add another attribute to control the width of the image for us. So we'll call that the width attribute.
Now, as you can see on the other side, the image has reduced. That's because we have given it a width of 200 pixels. So let us now explore a situation whereby we have a wrong link to our image. Let's say instead of JPG, I was using PNG. So when I save this, you notice here in the browser that we have an icon here showing a broken image. Or what becomes more important now is that you see that the alt attribute is now being displayed. So this is an example of when it is useful. Maybe the file is not completely loaded or the image is broken. You have an alternative text that shows what that image was supposed to display. So that's the usefulness of the alternative text. So just change it back to JPG and save, so you see our image. Now, we are going to proceed. We'll go to adding image video to our web page. How we add video to our web page. So let's just quickly look at let's look at our outline here. As you can see, okay, yes, so video is the next call option. So to actually display the video, we're going to import some videos. So like I would like to do, I'll create a folder here. I'll create a folder video. That's what I'm going to create, name the folder. Then inside the folder, I'm going to import the particular video. So I'm going to import the video I created from our last lesson. So let me quickly look for that video. It is somewhere in my documents. Folders here. Yeah, so this is the video we want to import. So I'll just click and drag it into our video folder. So as you can see, it's inside our video folder. When I toggle this, you see that it's inside our video folder. So that's the video we'll be using. So I'll just rename it because I don't want to have any space. So I'm going to rename this to, let's call it intro.mp4. So that's the video we want to link. So after adding that, now I just create a new file. And I'm going to call that file video.html. Then I'll call our boilerplate adding video to Webpage. So here now, we're going to add a video to our webpage. So let's just give a H1 title that says maybe video intro from last class, right? And here we now add the video. So to add the video, we use the video elements, right? And just like the image, we also have the source attribute, that's the SRC. So here we now specify where our image is located. So our image is located inside the video, right? Then slash the video name. So that's how we access our video relatively. Now, I'm going to add another attribute to our video. And that attribute is called controls. Now, some attributes do not have content, so thereby you don't need to, you don't write anything attached to it. So an example is the controls. You can see other attributes we have been using the attribute name equal to, then inside quotation mark, write what's the value of it. So, but some attributes do not have values. An example is the controls. It doesn't have a value. There's no need for a value. So once you just put the controls and save, then let's open this in our browser. Let's open this in our browser. So as you can see, that's the video. So let's also use the width property to reduce the width. So let's give it something like, let's give it a width of like, say, width of 300. And let's see how it looks. Okay, looks quite okay. But let's increase it a little bit. Let's do 500. Oh yeah. Now, as you can see, we can play a video. But let's look at what happens if we don't have the controls. So if I remove the controls and save this, so you see, there is no way for me to play the video, pause, increase the volume or anything. There's absolutely nothing for me to be able to do, control the video. So that's the essence of having the controls attribute inside. So you see, with the controls attribute, I can get this play, right? So pause, I can increase the volume or mute. I can also make it to be full screen, right? Then that has this option here, picture in picture. So you can see the video just below there, or you can do a download, and I'll download the video into my system. So there's also another way we can use to add videos. So I'll just comment this out as we learn from our comment that we can actually comment stuff we don't want to show. So if you see, if I refresh, you don't see that video again because I've commented that particular line out. So that line is out with comments. So we are going to use another method to add the video. That's where we use the source attribute inside the video. So we do video, right? Then instead of putting our source here, right? So putting our source here, we're going to put it inside the source elements. So we want to do source with the SRC. So here we specify where our video is located. So our video is located in videos and intro. Now it has another attribute, which is the type. So here we just specify that the video is actually an MP4, right? The video is actually an MP4. So we'll do video MP4. And this also is interesting since the self-closing tag. We can also add like a text that says, sorry, your browser does not support embedded videos. So this is a message that just shows up when the browser is not one that supports the particular video. So as you can see the video here. So it's looking very large. So let's add some attributes. Oops, sorry. The attributes are added into the video tag, not the source. So we'll just do the width and give it the same width of 500. So save that. So it's smaller, but as you can see, the controls are not showing. So we'll also need to add the controls, right? So our video is now playing, and you notice that this text that is written just below inside the video here is not displayed here. That's because this browser supports embedded videos. If you play it on a browser that doesn't support embedded videos, I don't know if there are browsers that don't support embedded videos these days, but just in case, for compatibility reasons, we add stuff like that. So that is how we add video to our project. So the next thing we're going to look at is adding audio to our project. So as usual, I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call the folder audio. Now inside this folder, I'm going to bring in an audio that I want to play. So let's just use let's just get let's say I'm going to just grab some few music from the playlists that I have here and drop them into our audio box here. So as you can see, I've dropped in 3 audio into our audio file there. Now the next thing I'll do is to create, sorry, not a folder. I'm going to create a file that I'll call audio.html. Right? And inside this audio.html, we're going to write the HTML that's going to enable us to display audio playback on our screen. So I'm going to call this adding audio to web page. And here I'm going to just say, I think I have one of the songs there is by Kiss Daniel. So I just say Kiss Daniel. It's necessary. That's the title of the stuff. So I'm just gonna leave it at this. Then I'm going to add the audio. So to add the audio into our file, all we need to do is use the audio tag to add audio into our file. So here, I'm just going to do audio. Then I'm going to write the link in the source code. So the link here is the audio file, the audio folder. Then inside the audio folder, necessary is the one. So I think the correct spelling is necessary. Yep. So that's the name of the file. Now we're just going to save this and display in browser. So open with live server. Let's see what we have. So if you look closely, we can't actually see the audio, but the audio is actually there. So to make the audio to show, we need to use the controls attributes so that we can see our audio. So yes, you can see, because we are now displaying the controls, you can now see that we can play the music. Okay. You can play the music, pause, and mute, increase the volume, and also download. So this is just how we use the audio player. So there are times when you enter some sites and you just see that the audio is playing automatically. Another attribute that we can use to play, an attribute that we can use to play the audio automatically is the autoplay. So if I save this, once my page loads, once my page is downloading, this audio starts playing, and you see the music is playing there, so we can also pause it. So anytime I refresh my page, the audio starts to play. So that's how we add audio to our web page. So I'm going to be adding some more HTML videos, because this is all we can cover in HTML. But we need to get into practical usage of all these things, because we're going to be looking at case scenarios where you are in a work environment. In a work environment, you are given this to produce. How you produce it. This is a method of delivering for this particular course. So we're not going to waste much time talking about HTML in the few, I think not even few, just an hour that we have, which is just 60 minutes for us to be able to learn as much as we can. So like I said, onboarding, it involves a lot of self-learning. So I'm going to be adding a link in the description when you are downloading this video that will take you to some other HTML elements that you can just that I've made a video about. You use it to abreast yourself with the things that are going to be coming in front as we proceed in this course. Because in our next class, we'll be going straight to CSS. Let us start beautifying our web pages. All right, so bye for now, and see you in the next class.